All right, so we're doing chapter 3 test review. I know I told you guys before I started recording that one of these problems, I called it a little Easter egg, right? You might see it again. All right, so make sure you guys take some notes. I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but one of these you should see again on the test tomorrow. Okay, maybe more, but I don't think I accidentally copied a second one. But I know I did one for sure. So here we go. Number one, we're just going to factor. We don't have to solve. Some of you guys in your homework, when I'm grading it, I see you write equals 0 for some reason, but it doesn't say solve. It just says factor. Okay, solving, then we can put in equal signs, but we don't need them here. So in order to factor, we're just going to ask ourselves, what do these things have in common? We got two terms, right? We have a 30 and a 20. I know they can both be divided by 10. And then I have an x squared and an x to the first. So I know they have x's in common, but they don't have y's in common. So they have a number and they have a letter in common, but not two different letters. So like I mentioned earlier, I know that they have a 10 that I can divide both a 30 and a 20 by. And I know that they both at least have an x in common, at least one. So 30 divided by 10 is 3. X squared divided by x is just x. So I have 3x right there. Plus, and then 20 divided by 10 is 2. And x divided by x doesn't, nothing stays there. So the only thing left is just a y squared, and I'm done. This is factored completely. Okay? If you ever want to check if you did it right, guys, you can always multiply it back in, right? So 10x times 3x, that's 30x squared. 10x times 2y squared is 20xy squared. If you multiply it back in, you can check to see if you get the original problem. If you do, that means you factored it right. Okay? You can always check your work. That's kind of nice with math most of the time. You can always double check to make sure that you're doing something right. All right. This next one we need to solve. Number 2. And it's x to the 5th minus 3x to the 4th minus 28x to the 3rd equal to 0. Now, if you remember the homework when we did this, we have to factor first. Take out things they have in common. And if you notice, they all have x's in common. Now, how many x's do they have? Well, the first term has 5 of them, the middle term has 4, and the last term has 3. So in common, they all have at least 3 in common. Okay? So I'm going to factor out, oops, let me change the ink here, an x to the 3rd. That's going to leave me with x squared minus 3x, because if I take away 3x's from x to the 4th, I only have 1 left, minus 28 equal to 0. Now, I have to solve this thing. You see how there's a product right now? X cubed times x squared minus 3x minus 28 equal to 0. I'm going to be able to separate this thing. So x cubed equals 0. X squared minus 3x minus 28 equals 0. Because we want to factor this. This is a trinomial. We can do x method for this. This one I don't have to factor. The x cubed equals 0. I could just solve. Okay? So let's start solving one of these. I'm going to take a cubed root of both sides. That means that x is equal to 0. So I'm done with that one. One of my answers, x equal to 0. I'm going to kind of put a dashed box around it so I know that's one of my solutions. But now I got to solve the other one. So I know a is 1, b is negative 3, c is negative 28, and I'm going to do the x method for it. So a times c is negative 28, b is negative 3. Two numbers that multiply to negative 28 that add up to negative 3 will be a negative 7 and a positive 4. Right? Because negative 7 times 4 is negative 28. Negative 7 plus 4 is negative 3. Do I have to divide? Well, yeah, but since it's a 1, I don't have to. Right? If it's a 1, if you divide by 1, nothing happens. right? So I don't have to divide. That means these are my two answers. So I'm going to write x minus 7, x plus 4 equals 0. Actually, let me write the equals 0 in red here. So now I just got to solve those. So x minus 7 equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. That means that my answer is 7 and negative 4. Right now, I'll write my actual solution properly the way they probably would love to see it. But I have three solutions, right? 0, 7, and negative 4. How many solutions am I supposed to have? Well, if you look at the original problem, I'm supposed to have how many? You guys remember how to tell? What? I'm supposed to have 5. Why? Because that's my degree. Okay? How many do I have? 1, 2, 3. But I'm supposed to have 5. Where are the other 2? Yeah, right here. The 0. How many times does the 0 have a solution? X cubed. 3 solutions are there. So my answer is supposed to be like this. X equal to 0, 0, 0, 7, and negative 4. But remember how I told you, they don't like for you to repeat them. So we use the word multiplicity. How many times did 0 repeat? 3. So it's multiplicity 3. So you're going to write your answer like this. X equals 0. You can write mult, M-U-L-T, for multiplicity. 0 multiplicity 3, 7, and negative 4. And that's 5 answers right there. I mean, we did this homework. It was a while ago. Excuse me. It was a while ago. But we did do this homework with multiplicity. Remember, whenever you're solving a problem, I'm going to kind of zoom out just a little bit more so you can see the original problem. Whenever they ask you to solve anything, always look at the degree of the function. My degree for this function is a 5. So the degree is a 5. So that means I'm looking for 5 answers. If you go through the problem and you solve it and you only found 3, that means that there's 2 missing. Where are those 2? Because they're there. They're there. So why didn't the 7 repeat? Well, because x minus 7, that has x to the first on it. There's only one answer for that one. The x plus 4, it's x to the first. So only one answer. This x equal to 0 started with x cubed equals 0. That means there's 3. Okay? There's 3 there. And if all you got was a 0, that means that it's 0, 0, 0. Okay? So that's what we're looking for. Okay? So I know these are a little bit tougher, but you're going to have to solve them and sometimes use X method inside of them. Okay? Questions on this one? Because this one's a little bit challenging, number 2. Again, you can use notes. You can use these notes tomorrow to help you. Okay? So don't feel like, man, I don't know if I'll remember how to do it. Like, you can bring this paper with all this stuff with you so it can hopefully help you do the work. Now, the next one is synthetic division. I'm hoping that's an easy thing for you guys. Use synthetic division to find f of 2. Okay, now I'm going to give you the problem here, number 3. It looks like this. F of x is equal to 2x cubed minus 4x squared plus 6x minus 1. So they're saying use synthetic division with this function to find f of 2. Okay, so here's how we're going to do it. Remember, synthetic division starts off like this. And where you add on top, you multiply on the bottom. Okay? In the little half box, that's where you put the number you're using for synthetic division. Since it's f of 2, not like x minus 2 in a parenthesis, but they're saying f of 2, they say use this number specifically, this 2. That number goes here, not the opposite of it. That number goes there. Okay? And then I'm going to list my coefficients. My coefficients are a 2, -4, 6, -1. Remember, all they want to know is what is my remainder, right? Plug it in, do the work. What's your remainder? So we're going to drop the 2. 2 times 2 is 4. -4 plus 4, 0. 2 times 0, 0. 6 plus 0, 6. 2 times 6, 12. -1 plus 12, 11. This is my answer, 11. Okay, that's it. That's all you got to do for number 3. There's 2 problems like this. Should be pretty easy. You just got to remember how to set it up. If you can set it up right, you should be fine. Okay. Of course, there can be mistakes where you add wrong or multiply wrong by accident. Like, sure, that can happen. But overall, the process is pretty easy for these type of problems. Okay. Now, again, if you're wondering, why didn't I change that 2 to a -2? It's because the only time you change it is when they tell you, like, divide by that, this binomial. Well, then you get the -2 and you change it into a +2. Or if it was like an x plus 2, then you make it a -2 in the half box. But it has to be in a binomial form. Not f of, but binomial form. We're going to do one of those right now. So are we okay so far? I think so far the hardest one has definitely been this one with the multiplicity. Look at your homework and stuff and look at the notes, the videos, kind of review it. All right. Question number 4. We only have 2 more, 4 and 5. So this next one, it's going to be find the remaining factors given one factor. So find the remaining factors given one factor. Now we are going to use synthetic division with this. Okay, that's just part of it. Here's the problem, number 4, x cubed plus 5x squared plus 2x minus 8. And then here, actually on the test, they don't put the parenthesis around it. They just leave it x plus 2. But I would recommend just putting it like that. So if I know that x plus 2 is one of the factors, that means I can divide it. And when I divide by a factor, my remainder is supposed to be what? Anybody remember? It's always supposed to be a specific number. If I'm doing synthetic division by a factor, my remainder should be a 0. And if it's not a 0, then I'm doing it wrong. Okay? So I expect that when I do this next step, I better get a 0 from my remainder or else I'm wrong. Okay? So I'll put a little note right here. Remainder should equal 0 on synthetic division. I'm just like writing a note for myself for the test, right? So I know, like, okay, when I do this problem, it better equal 0 when I do synthetic division. So, all right, let's go ahead and do it. That's the way you're supposed to use your notes, right? Put anything you hear me say that you're like, oh, that's a good thing. Write it down. Don't just say, oh, that was nice to know. Like, write it down. Maybe it's going to be useful. All right. In that little box, the little half box, see how I have x plus 2 here? I'm going to write -2 this time. And then my coefficients are 1, 5, 2, -8. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the process. So bring down the 1. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 5 plus negative 2 is 3. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. 2 plus negative 6, negative 4. Negative 2 times negative 4 is a positive 8. Negative 8 plus 8, 0. That checks, right? I did it right so far. So let me write down the answer. This is my answer right here. It's x squared plus 3x minus 4. To find my other factors, I have to factor this. These are my other factors. Let me factor it out. So I'm going to have to use the x method. So a is 1, b is 3, c is negative 4. We'll use the x method. A times c is negative 4, b is 3. My two factors that give me a 3 when I add them, but a negative 4 when I multiply them, will be a positive 4 and a negative 1. These right here. I don't have to divide because a is 1. So here are my factors. X plus 4. X minus 1. And what was my last factor? X plus 2, right? The one that they gave me. And there you go. I wrote down all the factors that I needed. They already gave you one. The x plus 2 was already given to me. These other two, I had to figure out by doing synthetic division and then getting the solution and factoring the solution out. Just doing X method. Again, this process isn't terribly difficult by now, right? We should be good at X method by now. It shouldn't be like, oh, this is the first time I've seen it, right? So we should be pretty good at it by now. So it shouldn't be too bad. Synthetic division is new, but it's also not tough to do, right? Just practice, right? A little bit of practice. So last problem. Trying to stay under 25. I'm doing okay. So last one is solve each equation okay, and then they're going to say state the number and type of roots. In other words, once you're done solving for it, you're going to tell us how many answers you found and what type of answers were they. Were they imaginary or were they real? Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit. So solve each equation. State the number of answers and the type of answers. So real or imaginary. So here it is. This is number 5. Now remember how I told you that there's an Easter egg? This one isn't it, but this one is really close to one of them. Really close. But it's not the one that I'm talking about. Okay? All right. Anytime they want you to solve for anything, you usually want to try to factor, right? What can I factor out of x to the 5th minus 16x? Just an x. So we'll take one x out. This will be x to the 4th minus 16 equals 0. Now, you might need a calculator for this next part, but we'll see. All right. Now, see how it's a product of two things? That means I can rewrite it. X equals 0. X to the 4th minus 16 equals 0. Well, x equals 0 is done. Like there's nothing I can do with that. That's finished. This is an answer. But the one on the right side, I can still move things around. So let me add 16 over to that side. So I get x to the 4th equals to 16. And then this is where you probably want to get a calculator unless you know anybody know what the 4th root of 16 is? So what number do you multiply 4 times itself? So like 1 times 1 times 1 times 1. Which one to get 16? It's a small, yeah, it's 2, right? 2 times 2 is 4. times 2 is 8, times 2 is 16. So it's 2. Or get your calculator and do a fourth root. Okay, your calculator can do it. So you're going to take the fourth root of x to the fourth. Fourth root of 16. So x is equal to plus or minus 2. It can be both. Remember, anytime you take a even root, so square root, fourth root, sixth root, eighth root, you always get plus or minus. So there you go. I'm done. So they want to know how many solutions that we got and what type of solutions, right? So I got all three answers right there. So my answers are -2, 0, and 2. And then I'm going to list the types. I'm going to put 3 real roots. None of these were imaginary. There was no I in any one of those. Okay? So they say state the number and the types. Well, I got 3 of them. The type, they were real, not imaginary. And then they told me to solve. There you go, -2, 0, and 2. So I answered the whole question. I told them the answers, how many answers, and what types they were. Now, if one of them, or let's say 2 of them were imaginary, then I'd say 1 real root and 2 imaginary roots, right? That's all I'd write at the end. I still write all my answers inside of this thing right here, the solution set, but I'll just describe them, okay? So, but I don't think the one you guys have tomorrow, I'm not sure, but I don't think any of them are going to have imaginaries. Don't quote me on it. I know the one that looks like this won't, because it's very similar. So that's it. Let me go ahead and stop this. I'll upload this for you guys. Make sure you guys make yourself a nice little one-pager to help you.